I mean, there's been all kinds of conversations just from talking to coaches and obviously the players and getting feedback from referees and
Mm-hmm.
officiating crews and I. It's hard for me to say whether or not it's a net positive or it's a
Mm-hmm.
net loss. I think it depends on the program. It depends on the style of
Mm-hmm.
play, and I think I personally didn't always agree with it at the start, just because I always like to keep things the same between regular season and postseason. You
Mm-hmm.
want to try and create as much of a normal pathway for our players so they know what to expect and they have that routine and but it's a different type of a game
Mm-hmm.
that I think this rule change has created. You're approaching each period a little bit differently, with substitutions in regards to the flow of the game and the rhythm and playing the full period. I think the part that I don't agree with the most is just the wear and tear that it has on our players.
Mm-hmm.
I think from the health science standpoint, where we have all this data out there supporting, injury prevention and the amount of minutes that
Yeah.
our players are out there and the amount of miles and the amount of work rate they're going through on a regular basis in a normal game. But you put that, side by side between back-to-back games, Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Like for us, first and second rounds, both games went the full time, um, and so in 220 minutes, I mean that's a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, there weren't any injuries on our part, but I can imagine that poses a major threat to our players' bodies, both
Yeah.
mentally
Yeah.
and physically, which I don't agree with. I think is kind of contradictory to what I think the philosophy should be, especially
Mm-hmm.
since there is so much data out there and we have very analytical people much smarter than me that are number crunching and looking at the
Yeah.
number of injuries that this poses. So I always was in agreement of the day of rest for the final four, but I think that should be every round. So not to digress and talk about a different rule, but I think that overtime rule just contradicts what I think we were set out to do and
Yeah.
what us as coaches and administrators and the body of athletic trainers and team physicians and everybody that looks after our players, we should be mindful of the amount of miles that they're running. I mean, we have our catapult vests that measure our guys' performance and how far they run.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 4 or 5 guys that played 90 minutes both games, first and second round, and they logged well over 20 miles between two
Yeah.
days. I think that's incredible. And to do
Yeah.
that each week, it's tough. It's demanding.
Yeah.